Hello, beautiful muses. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot. Today we are going to look at your October 2023 outlook. Before we choose some cards for the 4 piles, there are just some astrological universal things to talk about that may give, a general tone to October. So this year we're in a year number 7, and then when you add the 10 of October to that, we get 17, which adds down to an 8. So the universal month number for this October has an 8 to it. So we're all going to have our own personal month numbers. So even though in your personal life it may not necessarily feel this way, out in the world there will be this sense of eightness, of like a lot of accomplishment being had or seen out in the world, and a lot of energy to get things done. Just like this sense of a lot of things being accomplished in a broad scale sense out in the world. You may have a 2-month number, so you specifically may not feel that way, but you can still kind of look at the outer world and be like, yeah, a lot is kind of coming together, being taken care of, a lot of accomplishment being had in that general sense. It's also a month of astrologically when we are in, there's like some marks that came on my table, I just noticed, so rocking things a little. Okay, so we are going to be in Libra season for the first 2/3 of the month, which is all about that beautiful time where we find a little bit of balance between our inner and outer worlds. We start to find balance in our relationships, in our exchanges in the world, a lot of give and take. We start to pay a lot more attention to conversation and tensions between kind of those one-on-one types of tensions that you either kind of make decisions like this tension isn't right for me, or I can do this and cooperate this way and ask for this compromise to kind of make that tension more harmonious. It's in general this time of kind of seeking some peace and bridge building with others in a communal sense in our lives, as well as that just reflecting that we are coming into a balance with our own inner and outer worlds. The last third of the month will be under the Scorpio energy, which is a lot more intense. It's about how we entangle with others. It's about all the taboos, anything esoteric, anything kind of haunted feeling, as well as the, sex, death, and taxes of Scorpio season, which relates to shared resources. So that being said, those are just some general things that may come up. We are going to be out of any retrograde, like Mercury retrograde or Mercury retrograde shadow. So a lot more forward movement, a little bit less of delays and miscommunications with our communications and projects and consumerism, whatever, like those things will have a little bit more, it's like a real growth period for making connections, having ideas. The ruler of Libra season will also be direct, but it will be in shadow. So, just some, there may be a little bit more detachment this Libra season than typical, a little more looking at the big picture of harmonies and tensions and relationships. So calling in a lot more wisdom on our part as well. So just some very kind of universal general things that may be going on. But let's pick some piles to get a picture of. Well, 2 popped out really quickly. to get a picture of more on that individual level, how might you in your own life sort of experience this month? What are the kinds of things that may come up, the stories that might play out? Okay, one more. And that one. Okay, let's look at our 4 stones. We've got Amazonite, Labradorite, some ites coming through, Sunstone, and let's see, scooch these over a little, Hematite. So a lot of ites and then Sunstone. Okay, let's look more closely at each of these. I'll hold them up for you. So pile 1, we've got Amazonite, and it says loosen your grip, which definitely feels autumnish, time when leaves are falling from the trees, time to kind of let go a little bit, relax a little bit. Pile 2, we've got Labradorite. See the magic? I definitely feel autumn holds that high magic quality, alchemy kind of tone in it. In astrology, the signs that live in that autumn place all hold a little bit of magic. Sunstone, take pleasure in the things you do. Lovely. Yeah, and I mean, Venus kind of ruling the first 2/3 of October. It is about, you know, affection and beauty and that kind of thing. And then pile 4, we have Hematite, ground yourself. And definitely that is such a fall thing. We're kind of, you know, as things fall back to the earth and get reabsorbed into the earth to be recycled, it is a time to kind of ground back in, get down into our souls and inner worlds a little bit more. Yeah, so these all make a lot of sense to me showing up for October. Okay, if you have your own process for picking piles, you can pause here and do that, and then timestamps are in the description so that you can jump straight to your pile. Otherwise, if you are someone that likes the breath work I do to help you get into a good space for pile selection, we'll start that now. So place your feet firmly on the ground. Feel that stability under you. Let that bring a more settled, calming energy into you. And take a deep breath into your body, into that grounding, into that calmness and embodiment. Hold that breath and exhale. And now take another deep breath in, and this time suck the air up, up, up into the space between your brows where the third eye lives. Hold that. Suck in a little more to add pressure there. And then out loud, exhale, opening up your crown chakra. And now gaze over the 4 piles and see which one is drawing you in, and that will be your aligned October message. All right, I'll see you guys in your readings. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your October 2023 outlook. We are going to take a look at how your month is going to progress from a starting point and what it is that's sort of driving you through the month, and what that kind of transitions you toward the kind of growth arc that brings to your world in October. So you guys picked the Amazonite card, Loosen Your Grip, which I love. This is a very autumn feeling card. We've just had autumn equinox later, you know, the end of last month in September. And it's definitely a time when we need to start kind of letting some things be more relaxed, allowing the reins of our control over our own lives to be a little softer, and starting to cooperate with others a little bit more, be a little bit more communal in spirit, and less totally like focused on personal growth and personal control, it's a time to, kind of loosen up on that, relax a little, and let that more communal energy come in, which, even though you lose a little bit of, self-control over your world, it brings in added effort and help. You have a little more support when you kind of loosen your grip and let other things in and cooperation in. So I think this is going to be the driving force for your month and what is creating some sort of arc of growth for you. So we are going to pick some animal archetype cards to see where you're starting in the month, and then how this energy of loosening your grip kind of shifts you into a different animal energy. And one way to think about this, other than just kind of relating to an animal, is I always think of, I study a lot about the, like the Celtic spirit wheel, and it has 3 worlds in its cosmology: an upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. And down in the lower world, it's a little bit slower, a little bit more natural, earthy, dense, and it's where kind of the plant and animal realm live. And for me personally, I very much so connect those animals we meet in that lower world as holding information about our nervous system, where it is, where, animals that represent where it wants to be, that kind of thing. So there's something about connecting into your nervous system that these animals may be showing. So you are starting in butterfly energy, which is a very light touch energy anyway. So this may not be a hard kind of arc for you in the month, but let's see where you're going. Can't fully say that until we see what the loosen the grip brings. Beaver, interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of plugging in here to having come from like a time where there's been like a light touch in your world. Coming from a moment, in September, we were coming into a part of the year where we're coming into personal wholeness, and we have a lot of control over our personal worlds and our personal productivity and our personal wholeness. And there's something about that that felt really nice and light and natural for you. So where that transition's going to lead you as you loosen your grip and let others in a little bit more is actually into a more productive time. The Beaver is all about a certain work ethic. And so you may have some sort of collaborative or teamwork, I definitely am feeling like there are going to be external forces around you this month that are kind of creating a platform for some work to be done. But I think it will feel fun. Like the Beaver has a very positive outlook and positive energy around work. So I just feel like a lot of teamwork coming into play, or a lot of partnership work coming into play. Not in a love sense, in like a work sense. If it is in the love sense, it is about like, getting your house in order and getting the things done in your domestic life, so it could be that. But I also feel for a lot of you, it may be in the work realm of just like, teamwork, working in partners with something, having exchanges with, clients that you collaborate with, or other businesses that you're having to collaborate with. But it feels positive, and there's something about loosening your reins of controlling your own realm of work to letting other people in, and that feeling really fun, that feeling really productive, that feeling really nice to kind of share the load and have some common purpose with others. And it does like relax you to do that, I think. This month. So very cool. Okay, we are going to get a couple of oracle cards, one on each side of the butter and the beaver, the Did I say the butterfly and the beaver, to get a little bit more context about each side here of where you're starting and where you're going. Stand still. Interesting. Yeah, this is all about kind of these floodplains that come in that make it hard to move forward, but it's at the same time a sign that like new fertility is coming in. But you may have felt flooded in terms of like dealing with the mundane, dealing with the work of your life. And so there may have actually been a little bit of escapism that you are coming from out of September, where you're like, yeah, I don't know how to move forward right now. It's a little bit overwhelming, or there's just certain conditions where I feel a little stuck. And so I'm just going to lighten up and enjoy life and experience like some things on the surface that maybe I haven't had a chance to experience that lighter realm for a while. But I feel like you're kind of coming from that, but out of this place of like feeling stuck and moving more productive things forward. So even though it may have felt nice and a little bit flitty, it's you were almost forced to be in that position because you couldn't move sort of the weightier things forward in your life, which makes sense. We had Mercury retrograde for a good chunk of September, and Mercury, shadow after that, which does create a lot of delays and confusion, and yeah, it makes sense. Okay, let's get a little bit about the beaver and the purity. This actually flipped over with the butterfly, but I just wanted to take one card, and I had a moment like, is that supposed to be for the beaver? And I wasn't sure, so I just put it back in, and it was. I love this. I think that allowing other people in to your world, allowing more communal and collaborative spirit in things, is really allowing you to have a more restful sense of being. And even though like there's a lot more productivity happening in your life, because there's that either partnering or grouping effort there, you're actually like not holding that much weight, and yet a lot is like moving forward. And it is just allowing you to be more relaxed, more restful, and allowing life to kind of settle and have a little bit more of a stillness to it, a little bit more of an ability to kind of touching into that ability to feel our inner and outer worlds balanced in the Libra season. I think that's really coming through because I'm seeing that, the different colors, it's sort of like the yin and the yang, something balanced here, and just bringing like a new perspective and perception of life that just feels calm, that feels sacred, that feels pure. So it's a beautiful energy that your arc is taking you towards. There's like an amazing forward trajectory and movement that feels positive and feels like you have the energy to meet what your tasks are within that. And at the same time, there's something where it's like actually not that effortful because there's, it's just more support kind of coming in. Beautiful. Okay, let's get a few oracle cards to see kind of like the storyline of how this moves from, how your arc moves from the start to where it's going. Yeah, co-create. We already picked up on that. So come to the edge, co-create. Chaos and conflict. Okay, interesting. So come to the edge. I feel like that's that picking up on that standstill. It was like you were at the edge of something. You have been, as you come into October, you're kind of feeling like yeah, it's like you've hit your edge with something. You've hit your threshold of something you're holding, something that's felt a little bit like a struggle, a little overwhelming. You have come to your edge. You've stayed, but this is also like coming under the butterfly, and what I feel with the butterfly is like you have been handling that gracefully and with a certain lightness. So I don't feel like you're at the edge in terms of like about to collapse, but you are at the edge of something where you're like, I've gotten as light as I can be in order to be able to hold the space where I'm at. And if I got any lighter, I might just kind of waft off that edge. And so it's just sort of like, okay, I need some grounding here. I need something to come back into center. I need something to simplify here. And this is where I see that at that edge thing being the thing that kind of cracks you open and saying like, okay, I can't do this on my own. It's time for me to let support from the other realms, support from family, support from coworkers, support from whoever. It's time to kind of open it up and say, okay, it's time to be more co-creative. There's something about that that's drawing me back into my center, making things a little bit easier, a little more grounded, a little bit more manageable. And I think that co-creative force, just as soon as you kind of like open up to it, it just appears. It's just there. And then the way I'm reading chaos and conflict, because of how it's coming under these other like really positive energies we've had, is I kind of feel like I just feel like there are some transitions happening, but because the weight is being shared here, it's kind of like an inspiring place of chaos and conflict. And the conflict part of it that I'm picking up on is not so much these confrontational things. It's more about like, you know, you've newly opened up to this co-creative space. And so you, like I talked about in the intro, it's like you're needing to find those right kind of harmonies with whoever it is you've allowed in to be part of a co-creative teamwork, partnership, efforting in your world. There's, you know, initially going to be some kind of come to Jesus moments about needing to cooperate and needing to compromise and needing to share the load. Like it may even be hard for you at moments to kind of share the load. And the chaos part of it to me is actually, I'm reading it as inspiration. Sometimes chaos is where the inspiration lies. And I think that as support and co-creation comes in, and as you find the right harmonies with whoever you're kind of co-creating with, something about that new energy and that new dynamic in your life allows you to see whatever it is you're trying to move forward with, or that you begin to work with somebody else or with other people. It's like whatever initially you thought was going to be worked on, or where you were kind of being productive, it like with that new energy coming in, it's like all of a sudden you see it totally different, like things transform, and you're like, you have a completely new perception of what it is you are, you know, putting effort towards. It transforms, it becomes something else that is more right. You know, you see in this image, it's like this facade of a giraffe skin coming off of a zebra, but it was always a zebra. So there's something like you maybe had an illusory perception of, and as the co-creation energy comes in here, you start to, and it, you know, maybe it feels a little like chaos because all of a sudden it's like just more cooks in the kitchen, more opinions, having to share, having to cooperate and compromise, which I think is actually kind of a stimulating thing here. I don't feel it as like, yeah, like I said, it doesn't feel like these confrontations. It's just stimulating, and it's shifting things in you, and like some inner things you have to kind of like get over and relax, loosen your grip around. Exactly, loosen your grip around. And suddenly, as you loosen that grip and you let those people in, or that person in, or whatever, it's like all of a sudden everything starts to make more and more sense of where you're trying to go and what this co-creative energy is moving towards or trying to do. It's like the right lens gets put on everything, and it's like, oh, I understand now. I was trying to see this thing or move this way for this reason, but like, yeah, now that I've loosened the grip and I've allowed this co-creation in, like I see so much more clearly, with so much more purity, what this thing is. So for some of you, it may be this thing that felt like a standstill in September, or in general, that may have just felt like your life. So some of you may be like, I know what this is about. But for some of you, it's like something new will come up, some projects, some goals, some, whatever it is. And then you can be like, oh, this is something I think is going to kind of take me on an arc of growth. Yeah, super cool. Okay, let's get kind of deeper into like more elemental realm to kind of understand some of this, trajectory and arc of growth. Oh, I love this. West, completion, missing puzzle pieces. You had maybe some wrong puzzle pieces, but also maybe some missing puzzle pieces, looking at a false giraffe skin falling off of an actual zebra. Yeah, I think that the co-creative forces you allow into your life bring those missing puzzle pieces, bring the right perceptions that you're kind of missing, bring a sense of being able to see things with more purity and accuracy and clarity. And this, I don't know if this is a brain. It looks like kind of like a transparent brain on there. I'm not sure that it is, but that's how I'm reading it. And to me, it feels like new sort of dots being connected, new stimulation, like your brain starting to make new sort of pathways, new ways of seeing things, new ways of connecting things. Like something clicks in your brain this month that allows it to kind of, just like think more purely, think more clearly, think more with just like a new dynamic energy. And with this being a number 4 card too, like with more definition and orientation as well, like just like a lot more foundational understandings, I think, coming in that connects certain dots for you, certain pathways in your brain that you've been trying to figure out how to turn on. And then, oh, I love this 39, groundedness, gravity. Yeah, I do feel that, when things feel more grounded in the way that I experience it, it's like things manifest better. You're able to take something from like the realm of idea, the mind, and ground it, which is where manifestation starts, where it can start to put itself into the 3D. So it does feel like you're finding a way, whatever new connections are being formed in your mind, it's helping you to connect the dots on how to actually ground something and move forward with things. And it all has to do with like loosening your grip in some way, letting other people in, letting certain loads be shared. It just loosens, any tightness in your brain. It allows new ways of seeing things, connects the dot, which allows you to take things from the world of fantasy and idea down into grounding and actionable steps, which gives it some weight. It gives it some gravity. Very cool. I love this. So, I mean, overall, just like a lot of really productive energy and breakthrough energy for you guys. Let's get a couple or a few tarot cards. Ace of Pentacles, talk about grounding things, materializing things, things coming into the 3D. Yeah, this is getting real with certain things, really grounding them, getting real, creating some actionable steps, seeing the power of something in the material world. For some of you, it could be new material opportunities. So whatever co-creative energy coming in, it may hold some like new material empowerment for you, new focus and clarity around the material or 3D realm for you. Okay, the next two cards just flew and flipped over. The Emperor, things are coming into order. I actually feel that chaos and conflict here of like, you are coming out of a mode of chaos, of things not clicking, of not having the puzzle pieces, of it feeling a little, something's obscure, but there's like inspiration and incubated things going on that have been going on maybe in September, and then suddenly in October, it's like that clarity clicks in. You know how to give some order and come out of that chaos and ground things and see the deep clarity of something material here, something 3D here. So it could be around finances and income, or it could just be around materializing things in general and more of the 3D, like reorganizing your house, buying a house, you know, something. And then the Hierophant. This to me is like whoever, oh, well, got another two cards that flipped over, so we'll take a look at those in just a second. So you have the Hierophant, which is all about like whoever you do allow in and loosen your grip to allow to be kind of a co-creative energy in your life this month. Try to attract in people that have a certain expertise, that have a certain wisdom and counsel and kind of traditional understanding of certain things. Yeah, and this could also even indicate like some of that co-creative force actually being like cosmic, angelic, ancestral, something like that. I do get the feeling that like actual person or people are going to be co-creative forces, but this makes me think that there are some higher spiritual energies around you as well, maybe leading you towards those a partnership or a collaboration, or you know, even outside of all of that, leading, you know, there could be, you know, a counselor you go to, a religious advisor if you're you know, a religious person, a specific teacher of sorts that is really practiced in a specific tradition that you have access to this month. But this might actually be more of like an angelic assistance coming in. Okay, and then these two cups just fell, or these two cards just fell out. 9 of Grails and 2 of Grails. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, I think whoever is coming in to be a little bit more of a co-creative force with you is, you know, someone you either have a soul connection to or someone you're in a deep relationship, love relationship with already. So this is either a soul connection being made that can be love or otherwise, or someone you already have that connection with that you're kind of allowing into, you know, I did pick up on that thing, like maybe you and a spouse are like buying a new house, redoing a house, getting some domestic things in order. Like that might be something going on here. But there is this Nine of Grails too, which is the wish fulfillment. So make, whatever it is you kind of hope this is about, what this productivity and forward movement is about, like, don't make that a small wish. I know that we're only talking about a 1 month period, but the Nine of Grails is wish fulfillment. So what do you wish this to be? Think big, think, really connect to your soul and your heart. Like, what is it you'd really like to have happen? Around a wish that you and in a partnership scenario can really work towards and kind of manifest and really see some massive traction here. Gorgeous. Wow, I'm glad those two popped out. Okay, we are going to end by getting you a seeing which goddess energy is going to be guiding you this month or around your month's energy. Feeling this one. Ooh, Mother Mary, expect a miracle. Have faith that your prayers have been heard and are being answered. So open up to support, open up to help, open up to guidance. Make a wish. Start to bring your ideas down into like a grounded place. Believe in something, like what I was touching into here. Like, don't make a meager wish right now. Like, what is that miracle kind of wish that you want? Make it. And minimally by the end of the month, sometimes these big wish fulfillment things can take time, but I would imagine that by the end of the month, if you're really kind of focused with this and find some belief in it, like evidence of it will have appeared of what the miracle is, what the wish fulfillment is. For some of you, maybe it really does, like it's a month where something just totally miraculous happens, but for a lot of you, it may just be sort of like by the end of the month, you just feel that traction. You feel that the way forward is now open, and maybe there's still like a lot of work to put into whatever that is, but it's like it feels miraculous from where you started, of like, wow, yeah, the path ahead is now clear and we can move towards this thing and it feels right and good and everything's in alignment. Yeah. So gorgeous. That's where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope it resonated. If so, I always appreciate the things like, share, subscribe, and definitely always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments, just to feel a little bit of the human energy behind the technology. Okay, I hope you guys have a beautiful October, and I will see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your October 2023 reading. You picked Labradorite. See the magic. So I get the sense for you guys that you are really going to be in kind of a depth mode within yourself, of being able to see sort of the unseen. There's something about this month where, you come into that balance between your inner and outer worlds, that maybe you've had quite some time where you haven't felt very connected to your inner world. So as that plugs in for you, it's like suddenly a light switch is flipped on, and you either connect newly, like maybe it's something you haven't experienced before, or reconnect if you're someone that has experienced this type of thing before but has just felt sort of like that missing capability to really plug into the inner world and to, but so wherever you're coming from, I just feel like a light switch coming on due to having reconnected, or in general connected with your inner world, to meet how well you are already at least right now connected to your outer world, and everything just becoming more magical, more meaningful, being able to see the undercurrents, being able to see the unseen, or or experience the unseen somewhere, perceive the unseen in some way, and that giving you a sort of a capability to work with life in a much more subtle yet potent and powerful way at the same time. So this is the energy that is going to take you on an arc of growth this month. So we're going to use some animal cards to check in with like where you're starting the month and where this energy is going to be leading you. And I do tend to connect sort of animal spirit energy with our nervous system. So kind of like maybe where your nervous system, and you can also just sort of feel the animalness of a certain animal, kind of like where you're starting the month, and then how this ends up sort of transitioning you into sort of a different feeling energy as this comes more and more on through the month. So let's get a look at these animal energies that kind of will represent your arc. So frog, interesting. This was in the ending energy for one of the piles in August. So you may feel like this is familiar, and so it'd be interesting to go back and see if this was the August reading you had, and that maybe you've been in that frog mode for some time and now you're ready to kind of transition again. And otter, beautiful, both kind of watery animals here. I do love this. I do love what I'm seeing here. So the frog is like you having come from a renewal or replenishment, a new sense of your skin, like a deep rejuvenation and freshness. So you've kind of come through a little bit of a rebirth. You could have had, like we are shifting seasons, so you may be coming from having had like a wardrobe update, or having some skin treatments, or finding new skincare, having had some time off to rest a little, something, something that feels like you've had a little bit of a glow up, a little bit of a time to restore. And then moving into the otter, it's sort of like that helps you to wake up and emerge into the world again and feel playful again, especially with females in your life. And just feeling like, I feel like I can be part of life again. I needed a bit of a time out. I needed to restore and refresh, and I needed space kind of thing. And suddenly, as have done this work that's reconnected me, or in general connected me to my inner world, suddenly life just feels magical, and I feel playful with that. I feel social with that. I feel loving with that. The otter is such beautiful, fun, pleasure, social, playful energy, and it is sort of like really taking care of your women people, your women tribes. So even if you're male or identify as male, like you may find yourself craving more female companionship or groups, being around more female energy, or just feeling like your feminine side flipping on that willingness to kind of be sensual, be in your body, enjoy being in the 3D realm, enjoy more communal activity, that kind of thing. So gorgeous. Okay, let's see a little more context for each of the animals with another oracle card. Change. Yeah, I do think that you're coming from having gone through a little bit of change. And I'm going to read this, even if you did watch the August reading and you did not get the frog, this doesn't matter. I'm just reading it because for me, that reading, for whatever reason, is still somewhat fresh in my mind. And I'm just reading it like there have been some changes in how you feel in your own self. That's how I'm reading this. Like, it's that glow up, it's that rejuvenation, like your energy has changed and you're feeling refreshed. You're feeling something about you feels fresh right now. And you had to take some space to do this. You had to have some downtime, take some space, attend to you. But that attentiveness, that efforting there has changed your energy. It has really gotten you more in touch with your inner realm, with some self-love, with a revived sense of yourself, your own being in your own skin. And it changed you from feeling kind of unplugged in to suddenly plugged into life as magical. Yeah. This wants to come out. Protection. Interesting. Okay. So, I don't want to read too much into this yet. I kind of want to see what other cards come out before I have just kind of an abstract sense of this right now, that like whatever the otter is doing, however it's making you feel more communal and more playful. I'm not sure why that needs protection. I don't know if there's something about that needs some protection for you guys. I am noticing the colors right in here, kind of yellow. There's a bit of turquoise and yellow and green as kind of connecting with that yellow and turquoise. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you need protection from. I'm gonna do the next round of cards to see if that adds some context that I'm not picking up for whatever reason. It's like several different things kept coming to mind, but my mind wouldn't settle on one thing. And so I was like, now I'm just gonna be guessing. Like, I don't feel intuitively really connected to so we're going to look at a little bit of a story with these oracle cards of seeing, a little bit of a story narrative of how you go from point frog to point otter. I mean, the one thing that I can see actually is something did kind of finally settle in for me, is see the magic, places of magic, and being able to be in spaces where within yourself that are able to connect to magic are much more potent places, and it can dabble on the edge of some darker things. I think I was struggling to feel totally connected to that aspect of the magic because otter is such like a light, loving, playful creature. But this adds some gravity to the otter of like, this is like grandmother otter or something. So there are maybe certain things, even though you're feeling more communal and more playful, whatever you're touching with magic at the same time does have potency. And so you're being protected in order to still be able to be in a mode of lightness and love and playfulness and a little bit of even silliness, because that doesn't match always like being able to like really command magic to be in this kind of space. But for some reason, it's like the universe wants you to have both. So you need a little bit of protection because you're dealing with some more potent things, yet you're in this kind of lighthearted space, which could invite some trouble, you're being protected. So you're very safe to be in that light, playful, affectionate space while dealing with really potent, intense something. Okay, yeah, that feels right. It's like, I don't know what's going on with this. Okay. This one, I was feeling mending. Yeah, I mean, everything we've talked about with the frog and change, you've had some time out to refurbish yourself, refresh yourself, get a glow up. Maybe there's some exhaustion or wounds or grief, something that needed some attending to, some stitching up. Yeah, and I just see that you've done that. You're coming from a place where you are at a completion mode of that as you step into October, and now it's kind of like, okay, I'm mended, I'm refreshed, now what kind of thing. And the now what is higher power, right under magic. It's going to, so this feels like divine intervention coming in. You're kind of in this mode of like, okay, I'm refreshed. Now what? Like, I don't know how to start something or like where to go with this, but I feel present and alive again, and I feel connected to the inner me. And this is saying, like, relax about it. Some divine timing, some divine intervention, some kind of higher power is going to bring that, flip that light switch on with the magic and bring that new thing, that new trajectory. So don't feel like you need to be doing anything right now to try and figure out the what next moment of October. What's October about for me? Like, you will be set on that path. It will come from outside of you. But it's coming because of where you've gotten inside and outside of you. Okay, exchanging gifts. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this just feels like, again, like gifts, you don't really know what they are till you open them. So I do feel like certain exchanges, certain openings, certain I mean, literally, like gifts in the sense of not like a literal gift, but you're like, you know, those things you're like, that was such a gift in my life when that happened, or when that person entered my life, or when that person, like, I do feel like there's a person involved here, and there's something where it will be like, that was such a gift when this person blank, fill in the blank. It's going to be different for each of you, but I feel like there's a person, and it will be kind of divinely orchestrated by a higher power, but it's like the right person has the right, for some of you, it's like an opportunity at just the right time where they're like, hey, you know, I was thinking about you and blah, blah, blah. Would you like to something? Are you interested in this? Or I have this thing I don't want anymore. I feel like you might like, there's something with a person. It comes sort of like out of the blue, but someone thinks of you with something they're doing or something they have, or some opportunity that in their mind just suddenly connects, and they know they could make a connection for you, and that they're just like, I wonder if that would be interesting to them, you know. But I feel like it's going to be that thing, like it was such a gift. Like when you leave October, you're going to have that sense of like, it was such a gift when so and so did blank for me, or offered blank for me, or reached out to me for this or that. There's something going on with that. It's interesting and mysterious, and it's divinely orchestrated. Something about it is very protected, but your aura, this concoction of intensity and magic around you, yet this light, playful, communal spirit, concocted in it. You connected with your inner and outer realms in a really beautiful, alchemized way. Yeah, it's like something flips the switch on your aura. It's not even flipping the switch on magic. It is magic, but your aura also flips on. And that's what's making, this does say gifts. Maybe it's multiple things like this happening. All of a sudden, you're just like on people's minds. I think you're in that zeitgeist. You're in the ethers. You're in that communicative thread of the collective suddenly. And it's like everyone, Libra season brings that exchanging energy, and suddenly everyone's wanting to exchange something with you. Like, yeah, and it will feel very magical and like a gift and like you're being protected. I love this. I love it. So beautiful. And you're just, it's like the right time, the right things, everything just feels divinely orchestrated. So we're looking now at some elemental energy around all of this arc of growth for you. So richness, marine life. Yeah, there's so much going on. I feel like your aura turning on. I feel that inner and outer world alchemizing, which is creating magic, which you're tapping into some potency, some richness. Your playful and communal and affectionate spirit is coming in. It's just a richness, a new vibrancy coming out of you, it's like everything is suddenly like interesting to you and interesting about you, and suddenly like colorful and diverse and fertile, and just like suddenly life is just exploding with beauty. It was gorgeous, you guys. Purity and ice. Yeah, and this is, to me, kind of plugging into the frog as well. It's like, it's like you've had this rest, you've had this rejuvenation. You're now in a very, and the frog has like, I think of its rejuvenated skin as this purity. There's like just like a new refreshed sense of you to yourself, but also in the world. So you may have felt like you've been in like a little bit of a frozen time for, I don't know, a little while, months, a year. I would say at least since August. I would say before that, because you just moved into that kind of real restorative moment in August is what I'm feeling. But even getting to the point of sort of waking up, starting to feel refreshed, there was a time before that where you were like fully asleep, right? Or where life was fully asleep and resting and dormant. So I feel for a lot of you, this is more like almost a year or something that you felt, I don't know, like life has just been a little bit dormant, but it's because it's been in a winter phase. It's needed to rest and restore and incubate some things and rejuvenate and heal you, And then I see here a progression. These cards are naturally go one after the other. We have 32 to 33. 32 adding up to a 5, which is change. It's like, yeah, change. You've changed seasons. You've moved out of winter and into spring. And then 33 is a master number. It's the master teacher. You are waking up not just to spring, like life being fresh. It is that. But this is also indicating that you are waking up to something masterful in you, potent, powerful. This spring is waking you up to a new dawn of your power. And something about that is making you lighter and more joyful at the same time. Very, very beautiful. Okay, let's look at a few tarot cards. Well, I think a bunch came out, so we'll just take those. So King of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, and Ace of Grails. I mean, seriously? So beautiful. Yeah, I mean, you're really reaching something masterful in yourself, just connecting to that master teacher thing and this Ace of Grail, which is, you know, finding your holy grail, achieving your spiritual quest. There's something here, it's like you've fulfilled some kind of spiritual quest, and you're really stepping into, with both the King and the Queen. I'm not reading this as external energy. I'm reading this as being you, both of these, of like stepping into your authority, mastery, command of things, but also your nurturing and nourishing understanding of what it is to be in a human life on Earth, in a 3D realm, having a body, having to deal with material things. You know how to nourish that. You know how to nourish yourself. You know how to self-care, how to go through those phases of life. You know how to let yourself have a winter, and you know how to awaken to spring when it's the right time, because you have this nurturing command within you of understanding the earth cycles, but also this command of knowing how to be empowered within that and like own that and have authority within that, a wisdom, an agedness, a healing capability within that, just like serious power turning on. I think it's sort of like you're newly recognizing this as you kind of come into this new dawn of a new day and your magic, your empowerment. It's beautiful, and your cup's just overflowing. That also in another read of the Ace of Grails is like your cup being replenished, your cup feeling filled, your heart feeling full, life feeling full, love flowing through, out of you, to you, around you. Definitely like some spirit, you know, with the dove, the moon, the stars, and this, it feels like a spirit, like there's definite spirit guides around you, protecting you. And I think it's because you've got some kind of like weighted, it's like you've made it through some kind of initiation, through some kind of gauntlet, that you're now having acquired a certain status in your aura, in your energy, in your place in earth medicine. It's so funny to read this kind of big energy for a month-long reading, but I just feel like this is the month where you kind of, you know, have reached that new status and wake up to it and into it. Yeah, it's just the moment this comes on for you. It's beautiful. Okay, to end the reading, we are going to see what goddess is kind of guiding and looking over. Ooh, you guys. Guiding and looking over your month. Normally, if this many cards fell out, I'd be like, yeah, we're going to put them back. But because of how I've read this, the status you're at, it just feels like it's not even about the which one's turned over. It's just that like all the spiritual energy is rallying, like cheering you on. Like you are, it's like the spirit realm is just like in awe of you. They're watching your life like people watch football. You know, it's like a stadium of spirit guides. They're all there. It's not, you know, like the whole deck is here. It's not just these ones here. Any goddess energy you want to feel, you have access to. They're all eyes are on you. Which is that same thing I was saying, like you're in the zeitgeist. Even people on earth, it's like you're in their minds suddenly. Something is turned on in you, and like everything on earth and in the spirit realms is like, woo, let's watch this. How can we be involved? How can I help you? How can I be involved with you? How can I, like your status just turns on. And it's not just like, status climbing. You've been through it. And so it's like you just come into a status. It's not even like you're looking for a certain status. You just have come into it. You've aged into a certain status. And now everyone's like, oh shit, wow, I haven't thought of this person for a while. And it's because you've been dormant. But suddenly it's like you're everywhere. So that's, I don't know, it feels like a very big reading for October. So I feel like if you've come to this reading, you need to put like an alarm in your calendar to rewatch this at the end of October. Pile 2, October, Cosmo Muse Tarot, rewatch it at the end of October, and then leave a comment of like what this was, because I am so curious how this is going to play out. All right, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. If this resonated, I always appreciate all the likes and shares and subscribes. Definitely always grateful to see kind and thoughtful comments, and I hope you guys have a magical October. Wow. All right, see you later. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your October 2023 reading. In the intro, I was sensing into October really being kind of a powerful month in a general sense. We each will have our own individual experiences, but in kind of a worldly sense, it does feel like it has some big, powerful energy behind it this year. And so far, the first 2 readings have definitely plugged into that. So I am getting a sense that on the individual level as well, that we're each gonna have maybe some big moments. So let's see how this plugs in for you, what comes up for you, see if the thread continues or if it will be a softer month for you, who knows. But I do like whatever does come up, you have take pleasure in the things you do being kind of your foundational card, which is the energy ruling sort of an arc of growth that we are going to be looking at as taking place for you in October. So it's through an energy coming into you around wanting to take more pleasure in the things you do that is going to shift you from one mode of being, the way you step into October, the energy you carry as you move into October, and then suddenly feeling this need to take pleasure in the things you do. It will shift your energy to feel a different way. And so we're going to pick some animal cards to represent that arc of growth for you. But in general, like the thing that's going to be driving it and that's beautiful no matter what comes up is like you wanting to take pleasure in the things you do, which matches so much about, Libra season being the dominant astrological force in October is like slowing down, finding a little bit of like a more communal touch with things, wanting to feel the harmonies and tensions of life. There's something in that may inspire you, this want for feeling more pleasure. So I get the sense that you're going to feel very inspired by that kind of energy, the Libra energy. Whoops. Okay, so starting out in fish, that's interesting. And moving into rabbit. Okay. So you may have been in a little bit of a meandering summer, kind of a lot of distraction, a lot of activity, a lot of just kind of going with the flow. For some of you, it may have just more been on your own, like in your own internal world. Maybe you've taken a little space for yourself and you've just been in like inner meandering territory, doing some inner spiritual journeying, whatever the sense, whether it's been externally or internally, there's been a little bit of just a go with the flow, a meandering, a spiritual kind of essence coming through, a little bit unfocused, not having like real big goals that you're, efforting towards, which is fine. Summer is for kind of relaxing a bit. I mean, it is a productive time of year, but also a time to kind of like recreate and vacation and that kind of thing. So, not entirely a bad time to allow some meandering. But we have just come out of autumn equinox, and so it's like a shift in energy. And something, I think, with this take pleasure in the things you do, shifts you from a certain meandering to a certain quality of feeling like you want to really attend to fertility in your life, really create new paths, new openings, new opportunities that are a little bit more concrete in nature. So at the same time as this inspiring you to kind of, and I think it's sort of like this thing in you that's like wanting to take more pleasure in things, it's actually grounding you. Taking pleasure to me brings up the thought of like having to be in your senses, and being in your senses really grounds you actually. So I feel like you've been like in your head just spiritual and meandering, and there can be a certain pleasure about that, but it's like this abstract pleasure. And this feels more of like that five senses pleasure of like you're really grounding into yourself. And through grounding and connecting to your senses, through noticing what gives you pleasure, you're starting to get more concrete ideas of like what you want to create fertility around in your life. And that can also scare you because it like takes you out of this realm of anything's possible. I'm in this fantasy land just filled with possibility now towards like, okay, well, I want this specific thing and this specific thing because I feel a lot of pleasure about it. And suddenly it's like, oh shoot, now I need to like actually figure out a way to take some action steps towards that. And this is where like the rabbit to me has two sides to it. So it brings a little bit of fear. And I think that fear is because now you have some things you need to take action toward, and it's sort of a shift from being in a dreamy realm to needing to anchor in and actually take some steps. It's just a shift. And so it's got a little bit of fear associated with it. And it's actually also like a starting point. And that can hold some fear of like, oh my gosh, like, do I really want to do that? That seems so crazy, or seems so big, or seems so something. It's going to push my boundaries, like, uh-oh, kind of thing. So even though it's like a positive move, it's like moving things from incubation into a first action step and a first goal, or at least planning. It's still this kind of like beginner territory, and that can be a little daunting and overwhelming and like, but at the same time, I think that shows that you're a thoughtful, careful person, because a lot of people, when they come to a starting point, they get really impulsive and they don't think this through of like, okay, at the 6 month mark, this needs to have happened. At the 1 year mark, this needs to have happened. I want this in 5 years to look like this. I feel like that's what you're coming into. And a lot of people just like jump in and baptism by fire kind of thing. They don't know what they're getting into, and they're like, I'll just figure it out as I go. And a lot of times when you approach things like that, you fall, even though you feel courageous and bold and more like a lion going into it. It can bring some false starts. But for you, this is indicating that these new starts for you, the way you're approaching them is indicating that you're a very thoughtful, very careful, very measured, and successful person. But when you start new things, it can bring some fear up. But just try to remember that those new things are being grounded through a certain pleasure you feel through them. So even though you feel pleasure in them, you can see the big picture and it's daunting, but just try to be in the moment sometimes with that pleasure. Try to take pleasure in each little step. Try to just be present. I think it's great to plan and look at the future, but try to balance that with being in the moment more often than you allow yourself to be, so that you cannot be in a mode of fear, but be in a mode of pleasure, which I think the rabbit can be in when it's not scanning for any predators. The rabbit also tends to show up as something that leads us into the right direction. Follow the white rabbit. We see it in The Matrix, in Alice in Wonderland. There's something about following the rabbit that leads you to where you're supposed to be going. So I do also feel like there are going to be some breadcrumbs for you. Partially it's that pleasure you feel, what you feel pleasure from is a breadcrumb of like where you should be going, but I feel like there's going to be other more external things that are kind of helping you connect the dots, that are kind of guiding you to where you're supposed to be going. Because it just feels like some new beginning is anchoring in, but it's one that you are planning, you are creating, you've imagined up, but now it's free will here. This is about you doing it because you want to do it. So really cool. All right, enough on that. Let's get another oracle card on each side of our animals, one for each animal, to give a little context to each. I already feel a lot of context from what I was saying. Take risks. Yeah, it's all a new start, something new, and it's saying take the risk. Whatever you imagined up in meandering summer, yes, take the risk. That's your first breadcrumb. I'm going to give it to you. Yes, take that risk that's in your mind. And potential. I love that. That's bringing up the luck, lucky rabbit's foot. That is like, this has potential. Take the risk around the thing that you connected to in your meandering. Put in that effort, put in that planning, put in that forethought, because there is a lot of potential for you in this new start. So I don't know what is probably different for each of you, what that new start is. It could be moving, it could be a new job, it could be going to a specific school, it could be training for a marathon even, like whatever it is that's like in your mind, a new thing that you have to kind of newly put yourself into. This is saying it's time. This is good for you. This is beautiful for you. Do it. This has potential for you. Okay, we are going to pull a few more oracle cards to kind of see a little bit of a narrative, a little bit of a storytelling of how you get from point fish to point rabbit, and how pleasure kind of guides that. Poised. Treasure Island. Go the distance. I love this card, showed up a couple times lately. Talk about that, the fear aspect of rabbit. I think you understand what the distance is. And so, you have that forethought, that foresight. This is a distance, this is a marathon, not a sprint, whatever it is that you are being told to take that risk on. And so, it's like, I get it. I get that rabbitness. Okay, but anyway, let's actually go through this before we get ahead of ourselves. So poised. This to me is like inspiration. Something has come to you when you think of it, whatever this is that you might connect to what we've talked about, this new thing, this thing that feels like taking a risk. When you sit in it and you imagine yourself in the midst of having started this and going towards it, to know that it is the thing that's being talked about here. There's something where it feels inspired and you feel poised when you sit in it, when you imagine yourself living it. You have a certain poise that you can imagine within yourself in that. So that's one way. If you're like, is it this or that? You know, like maybe you can think of 3 things. You're like, I don't know which one it's talking about. Take a minute to imagine yourself a year into this in each of those, and in which one do you feel your poise like really elegantly there? That's the one that's being talked about. If that needs to be clarified for you, that's what it is. And even if you only have one thing and you're like, yeah, it's that, I think it's a good practice to kind of imagine yourself in it a year from now and feel what that feels like. Find your poise within it. This to me is saying continue to come back into the present more often than you do, to feel the pleasure, because that's the thing that's going to keep you on track toward the treasure island, getting you to the destination. You know, even though there are, like I picked up on, that there might be some external breadcrumbs to follow your inner compass, you need to continually return to a present moment and connect to what about this do I take pleasure in? What about this feels pleasurable about me? That will keep you connected to your inner compass on whatever this is that you begin. And then we've already kind of talked about go the distance. I got too ahead of myself there because it just like was so easy. So I won't go back over that. That's just like that foresight, you know, it's a marathon, whatever this is. But this is saying go the distance. It has potential. You have the stamina. Yeah, go for it. Okay, we are going to pull a couple of elemental cards to get some messages from the elements realm around this. Ooh, okay, well, we have speed, movement. So that's amazing. Something is happening very quickly with this. I think you're going to make a decision pretty quickly, or something will happen that allows you to move forward with this very quickly. Some pieces fall into place very quickly, but there is traction to, not only does it have potential, and not only do you have the stamina to go the distance, but there's like immediate traction here. There's immediate things falling into place that allow you to move forward very quickly, which is another thing that might have that fear popping up with the rabbit of like, oh, this is too quick. It's not. You're a very thoughtful, foresightful person. That's actually something you have to be pushed to do better, is to go quicker sometimes. So it's a good thing. Don't read that as like, don't let that make you pull back from this. It's positive. Wildness, electricity. I am reading this as that really getting lost in what gives you pleasure. Not getting bogged down in making this new risk about how it looks on paper and the plan, and like getting bogged down in that minutia and how it could go and where it could go, but just getting lost in the pleasure of it, allowing it to be a little quicker than you usually like it to be, and just being a little bit more risk-taking here. Going with it, allowing your pleasure to move you towards this. I think it's a positive thing, and I think it's going to open you up to new aspects of yourself, where maybe sometimes you kind of suffocate potential of things because you sort of over plan it, overthink it type of thing. It's like, don't overthink it. Get out of that mind. You know, that's where the fear of the rabbit comes in, is like, so in its mind that it sabotages itself. You know, if you can just get into your senses, your pleasure, allow some speed to be there, it's going to unlock a new way of believing in yourself and believing in your potentials. Yeah. Okay, let's look at some tarot cards. But I do have to say, this plugged in for you guys as well for October. It feels like a very kind of powerful reading. Woo. So we've got Queen of Swords. We've had a lot of royalty come out. Court cards, I guess you would say. And Ace is coming out. Very interesting. It's in the air, new starts and certain commands, certain, yeah. And the Lovers. Beautiful. Yeah, trust that you have clear perception here. Trust your mind. In part, get out of your mind, but when you need to make decisions, trust your mind. You're very clear-sighted about all of this. So don't sit and deliberate. There's an inner knowing that you have. There's a certain logic you've already cultivated and nurtured. And allow yourself to trust your intuition, your inner knowing. It knows very deeply and wisely and will steer you correctly. So again, it's sort of like, don't overthink it, but do trust your mind. It will have some clear yeses and nos for you, and they will be coming from a very nurtured place, a very like caring place, not this, even though there's like that risk-taking card that came out, that queen of, any queen is coming from a nurturing place, not like a risky place. So trust that when you are having clear inner knowings, they're not coming from a place of like, I'm willing to take that risk. They're coming from a place of like, this is good for your soul. Make that decision. And then Ace of Spears, this is just picking up and confirming that like something new is arising, a new start. It feels passionate, and it's picking up on that speed. It feels assertive, passionate, eager. Allow it to be that. It's positive for it to be that. Dive into that energy. Let that energy move you. And then the Lovers, whatever this new thing is that begins in October, that you take a risk on, that you put yourself into in a new way, I think it's really going to connect you into a sense of community where you feel very loved and seen, and very much so more in touch with your higher self because of that. It's like you're coming into sort of soul tribe, soul people, a real sense of like belongingness taking place that is allowing you to come from a higher place within you, which also can attract in, if you're looking for love, some love energy that's from the right place, not from, I like to say it, I definitely, when I was in the dating realm, I'm married now, I have been for ages, but when I was younger and in that dating realm, and there was a phase I went through, and a phase I've seen a lot of different friends go through, where you kind of have this like broken picker, you're like picking the wrong people constantly, and then like something, we just mature, we grow up, we realize what we don't want and what we do want, and like, so it's sort of like, if you are single and you are looking for love, you're in that newly kind of matured place where it's like any broken picker is done. Like you're picking the right person now, it's more soul centered versus appearance and excitement or something like that. But if it's not, this doesn't feel like, maybe you're already with someone you love, or you're not looking for love, whatever, like on a more broad level, this is like coming into that right kind of belonging in the outer world that allows you to be in your higher self. Really beautiful. Okay, let's get goddess energy that will be ruling over your month, giving you some guidance. Whoop. Let's see, fell on the floor. Give me just a second. Sedna, I love that. Infinite supply. You are supplied for today and all of your tomorrows. And this goddess has a lot to do with exchange. I actually relate it very deeply to Libra energy. I feel like she's very much so a Libran goddess. It's all about knowing that you have to, on the most fundamental level, you have to breathe in and out. You have to pay attention to your inner and your outer world. You have to give in life in order to receive, and you have to receive in order to get, they feed each other, and it's part of that flow. And if you can get into the flow, it's endless, and it creates a cycle, and it creates feedback loops, and it exponentially grows when you can kind of plug into that exchanging, and it just creates infinite supply when you understand that give and take. So there's something about that that's also turning on for this month, or that will kind of infuse this month for you. And plug into that, just to go back to our foundational card, plug into that in a way that you feel pleasure in giving and pleasure in receiving. Always use that as a compass this month. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. Really beautiful reading, another big reading. It's, I guess, just in the air universally for October, so it'll be interesting to see how that month goes. Anyway, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If it resonated, I always appreciate the likes and shares and subscribes, and definitely always really grateful to see kind and thoughtful comments. And I hope you have a beautiful October, and I will see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 4. Welcome to your October 2023 reading. You guys picked Hematite with Ground Yourself, which is going to be the main overarching theme that takes you on sort of an arc of growth from one energy to another energy. And so I started this reading, and like 5 seconds into it, I had to sneeze so badly and it wouldn't come out, and it made me like, I couldn't even like go forward with a train of thought because I knew it was right there. So I just had to stop the recording, and I wasn't very far in, so I'm like, it's fine, I'll just start over. And then I did have this enormous sneeze that came out, and I had that sensation of just like that calm after a sneeze, and I'm like, that totally grounded me. When you get to a fourth reading, doing these tarot readings, you can be a little bit like up in your head and airy, and I feel like that really helped to reground me and sort of restore some focus and balance, and I feel like much more prepared and calm now. So I'm definitely reading that for you guys. There's something about the energy of October, like maybe you're coming out of a September that was like really high octane, or just like had a lot to attend to, which wouldn't be surprising because a lot of September is ruled by Virgo, which is this sign of like day-to-day life, holding all the roles, finding your personal balance. It just, it's pretty high octane. And then Libra season is that like, exhale, kind of ground, like go, loosen up, commune more, become more relational and less about productivity. Share the load instead of carrying it all yourself type of thing. And I just feel that for you, like all the things I just said is just like, like I just feel this kind of like, I can take a breath. Like October feels like it's that's, I didn't even have words. I just needed to do a big exhale for you guys. It just feels like that. You're just, letting some things go. And on it, there may be some things you have to let go this month that actually, even though just like leaves falling from a tree can kind of give you it gives you a melancholy mood that's like pleasant, though. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's just me that feels that. But sometimes, like, little things we have to let go of in our own year, surrendering into the darker time of year, at least those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's like, it brings like a little bit of a melancholy, but one that's like kind of filled with relief in a way. So I feel that for you, like there may be some things kind of coming off of your plate, or that you're letting go of, that even though it can bring some grief or melancholy, also feels pleasant in a way and calming in a way. So I'm just feeling that vibe of like really letting some things out, really allowing some things off your plate, really being able to let go of things that need to be let go of, and exhaling. So I mean, hopefully it's come through. I'm just going to reiterate, the feeling I have around it is calming. It feels calming. Okay, so we are now going to take a look at some animal cards. So I'm going to draw one animal card to go here and one to go here on each side of this foundational card, to show kind of the energy you're going to be in as you come into October, and through this ground yourself energy that October brings or inspires in you, what it kind of transitions your energy toward. Oops. So we've got, this makes sense, hyena, and this moon here even kind of feels like that hematite, this weight. And hyena is, well, okay, let's get the other one and then we'll get into to dolphin. I love it. Yep, beautiful. This is a very lightening up for you. So the hyena has some Jekyll and Hyde to it. You know, it's showing the half dark, half light moon, which is a quarter moon. It knows how to kind of see some absurdity in life. It can also hold some sarcasm and some dark humor. It can hold some pessimism. It's it's tinted, it's like its lens with life is a little bit tinted with just like a little bit of absurdity, seeing just things as like life is absurd, things as absurd, people as absurd. And so that can kind of aggravate your nervous system a little bit, to feel a little bit of sarcasm around everything, a little bit of negativity around things. It can kind of have our nervous system on edge, and I even feel that with this image of the hyena. It's kind of like it's like its shoulders are hunched, its spine is up, kind of, you know, on hyenas. I guess it doesn't show exactly on this, but it feels like its back is hunched. But I know, like, in a hyena's fur, when they're kind of like on guard with something, or confronting a predator or something it's being predatory towards, there's like a ridge on its fur, on its spine, that kind of sticks up, and I kind of feel that, like there's something, a tension, a constriction, like ready for something to attack, or ready to attack yourself, and a little bit of a biting sarcasm, a pessimism, seeing things absurdly. So yeah, it's interesting. I would be interested in, I don't know why, I'd be interested to hear in the comments if you relate to that at all, because it does feel sort of intense to me. So I'm trying to think of a way to read it a little more softly, because it's hard to imagine that a ton of people would come to this and be like, yeah, I feel exactly like that. But I don't know, like, yeah, let me know in the comments if that relates to you, or something, at least one thing in there relates. And it could just be to kind of like soften it or make it a little bit more broad. Just this kind of lens of being high strung, which is what I was picking up with when I did that false start on your reading and had to stop it with the sneeze. It sort of, I felt like I came from a kind of high strung place into a grounding. So like in a more broad way, it just might feel like you're coming into October feeling high strung. And then through a certain like relaxation that flows through you by kind of letting go of that, maybe there's just like, it may just be mentality that kind of sheds off of you, or it may be just like external life becomes more calm. Whatever it is, something's shedding off of you that just allows you to move out of that high strungness, where you start to feel like you can exhale, where you can feel relaxed, feel a little bit more positive, and you really feel by the end of the month in like a very positive place. Like the shift here is insane to me. And it is like even opposite triangles, upward, downward triangle, grounding triangle to kind of intensified upward pointing triangle. It's like, if I think of the dolphin as just loving and playful and has sort of a healing presence and a lightness to it. So through that grounding, it's like you're going to be able to connect to like a much lighter, softer part of yourself coming forward. I think, the thing that makes sense to me is just like things, like if there's been a lot of activity, it's going to slow down. If there's been a lot of sort of conflicts, those will sort of like taper out. If there's been just a general sense of pessimism for some reason, maybe there's some scenario in your life that's been hard, it's like something softens about it. It just becomes less important for some reason. And it just creates this really massive shift in your energy. It's real. I don't know if I've ever done a month reading where that shift has felt so profound to me. But yeah, by the end of October, I just feel like a very, very different energy coming off of you. And it really is helped along by allowing certain things to just wash out of you, wash off of you, just exhale, let things go. You will find a much deeper connection to a lighter, more joyful center within yourself. Yeah, maybe it's even just like the shift in weather. Maybe you're someone, thinking about myself, I'm very fair-skinned and I, really struggle being in the sun and heat, and where I live is very deserty and it's awful for me in the summer, and I just basically by the end of summer collapse. So I could even in that way like relate to that hyena of just like, done with this. So it may even be like a weather thing, like maybe you're someone that enjoys that fall weather and it just completely shifts your energy. But yeah, something about grounding, letting some things go, just revives you. Okay, let's get another card for each of the animals to add a little layer to it, a little more detail about these. Openness. This is interesting, so it's very different moons. I have something came to me in that, and then focus. Okay. Openness to focus. That's a polarity in itself. The hyena to dolphin feels like a crazy polarity, and openness to focus feels like a pretty crazy polarity. So what comes to mind for me, initially I was like, well, this doesn't make sense. Openness and what I've talked about with hyena kind of contradict each other, but they don't. I feel like you've been flooded. That's what I'm feeling. The hyena high strungness has been about, is like you've been too open, you've allowed too much on your plate, you've allowed too many thoughts into your head, too many comparisons, too many opinions, too many activities, whatever it is to you, too much sun. There's something where an exposure to something has been too much and it's made you really high strung. Made you really uncomfortable in your own energy, really biting, kind of having had it a little bit. And it's because there was an openness, an exposure or an openness you had to something that just, it flooded you. And now October is allowing grounding to come in. It's what you crave as you come into October, and it's what the universe is bringing you on top of that anyway. And so as you ground, as you let some things off of your plate, that exposure, I'm even thinking about in a camera, when your exposure is too open, it really washes out a picture. And then when you really focus it in and kind of close that exposure tighter, or that the focus hole tighter, it's called the exposure. So if you focus it in so the focal point is a little bit tighter and the picture's tighter, it's like you can get a much more crisp, much more defined picture. And so I feel like something about that, where life feels a little bit more defined. There's more limited things you're having to think about or do or be a part of. It's allowing you to feel more focused, hence more in yourself, more in your energy, and moving certain things forward with like more clear trajectory, with more definition. And that is making you feel lighter. That's making you feel more joyful. So that's how I'm reading this. Okay, we are going to do a few more oracle cards so I'm going to do 3 oracle cards that are going to show a little bit of like a narrative around how we get from point hyena to point dolphin. Filling this one. Breathe. Yeah, I mean, that's how we started the reading. It's just like you come into October and it's like, exhale, breathe. Time to, just get back into you. Let some things go. Clean it up. Yeah, again, like too much is like cluttered that exposure to something. Too much of something is just, fried your nervous system. It's made you high strung. It's created a little bit of baggage or just debris around you. Like too much of something is always kind of can create a mess. So it's like, breathe, ground, clear out those things, clean it up, clear out the clutter, clear out anything you don't need on your plate, let some things go. That's what it feels like, more than like, cleaning your house might feel nice, in your car, that certainly do that if that resonates to you. I don't know, like I clean once a week, so that's not like, but maybe there's like a deep clean, like a spring clean, but in the fall that you need to like do a deeper purging of just stuff or something. But in a more broad sense, it's just like letting things off your plate, letting things go, letting mentalities go, letting anything you're flooded by just go, clean it up, clean it out. Breathe and clear it out. And then we've got TikTok. Interesting. This makes me feel like a very specific focus or goal is coming into place. You're able to take some things off your plate, let life be a little bit more calm, which helps you to find a focus, which brings you more joy, more energy, more clarity, which maybe then has you with like finding more of a focus in life, more limited things to put your effort and mind toward and body toward. It's like maybe that focus turns into an actual goal. Not just that you're able to focus on something you want to focus on, but it's like actually kind of transform into like, I would like to, by this time next year, or by a month from now, or a week from now, or 6 months from now, I would like this thing that I'm really finding focus on or becoming focused on, I'd like to like actually take a course on it or move the needle from here to here. Like there's an actual kind of grounding goal that you put in place to move the needle forward on something you want to focus on, something that brings you happiness and joy, and where you feel grounded and where you feel where it feels joyful to put your energy. So I feel that in a beautiful way, like October is allowing you to really get rid of some periphery things that have convoluted your time and energy and really prevented you from like taking something specific forward, because it's just been like so much of all sort, like jack of all trades, moving from jack of all trades type of energy towards a master of one. Like, this is the thing that's important to me. I need to maybe just like let go of needing to be proficient in 10 things and really focus on this one thing. That's actually what would make me happy. That's actually where I see feeling my happiest. And you know what? To push myself there, I'm gonna, go do some training in it or give myself some mile markers, whatever it is. It's just like, it's just like this ability to just like drop into it and like give your all to this thing. And it just brings you grounding and joy and healing energy. I love it for you guys. Okay, let's do a few tarot cards. Fill in this one. Maiden of Pentacles. Beautiful. Knight of Swords. We've had so many court cards in these readings. So crazy. And the Devil. I don't know why I want to start with the Devil, because it suddenly like connected into things I've already said. I feel like there's a warning coming through here for you guys. Anytime you see the Devil, there is a little bit of a warning coming through. But if you know this warning, it will be very helpful. And I think you can avoid some pitfalls that may be some little trappings for you. And I feel like even if you fall in these pit holes, you'll be like, oops, let's get back out of that. That's not right. And so the pitfalls aren't the worst. I think you'll recognize right away. But what the pitfalls are is this openness versus focus. Like, I get the feeling that a lot of people coming to this group are eager to be helpful or like to be stimulated to the point where you struggle to see where the tipping point of overstimulated is, or over helping, or over something. There's a certain openness that can sometimes be your pitfall, that is like a pattern that always gets in the way of you really being able to focus and do something for yourself, really master something for yourself, because there's this like openness center that's like always needing to, it's like fear of missing out, or this need to be needed, whatever it is for you. It's probably different, kind of comes in different ways, but somewhere where you tend to flood yourself and that overwhelms you and gets you kind of overly wired feeling and really prevents you from being able to focus on the thing you actually want to focus on for you. And so there's a warning here that, like, yeah, some of that could come up again in October, but you're supposed to say no. You're supposed to kind of shut the world out a little bit more than you're used to doing. It's not completely, but just like make this a priority. Everything else comes second, third, fourth, fifth. And the first priority gets the majority of your time and focus. So even the second priority has sort of meager pickings, you know, there's not a lot of space and room and time left for anything outside of the first priority. And so this could be like really scheduling things this month. Really, really putting some boundaries on scheduling so that you can be grounded and focused, because this is how you'll feel when you do. You'll feel like the dolphin. If you kind of fall into that pitfall again, which for a lot of you, I could see very much so happening. But like I said, I think you'll notice pretty quick and pull yourself back out, but it is detracting. It's like, yeah, it just really ungrounds you to fall into that pattern. Okay, so Maiden of Pentacles and Knight of Swords. I read these as your energies, both of them, and the energies you need to tune into in order to stay on track, in order to stay away from the devil. These are your inner weapons to stay away from the devil, is to really focus on some new idea that's coming through that feels beautiful, it feels pleasurable, it feels delightful. Like the you know, it even has that dolphin essence. Something feels delightful, some new value, some new conception that you're wanting to focus on, and it has dolphin energy in it. It feels delightful to you. But it also has some material or value-oriented potential around it. And it's a thing you're supposed to be focusing on. That's the thing you're supposed to focus on. And then the energy you need to channel within yourself to move forward with it, to move into it as a goal, and the effort of it is the Knight of Swords, which is it's the fastest moving. Along with the Eight of Wands, the Knight of Swords is the fastest moving card in the deck. It's like, stay laser focused, stay swift, move quickly with this, connect to your energy as being daring and exciting, and, you know, like, again, it plugs into another aspect of the dolphin of excitable and passionate and eager and you know, so like the maiden, the idea, the thing that you're connecting to that's becoming the focus or the priority has like that delightful element of the dolphin, and then your energy to move into that focus, to do something with that focus, is sort of the playful, passionate side of the dolphin that jumps into the waves and swims with its pod, and, you know, it has a real power with water. You know, it really knows how to catch a wave. It knows how to jump and dive, and to, you know, like, it's dynamic and swift and energetic and strong, and it's like, that's the energy you should be channeling within you to stay focused, to stay on your path, is to stay excited about it and stay impassioned about it and stay active with it. That's what will help you to stay away from pitfalls, is keeping your eye on the focus and staying in a certain energy. Okay, so to end the reading, let's look at what goddess is going to be ruling over your month, helping to bring some guidance as well. Yeah, I love this. I love this for you. Sekhmet, be strong. You are stronger than you think you are, and your strength assures a happy outcome. This is that night. Stay connected to your passion. Stay connected to a little bit of cockiness with it. Stay focused. Trust that you are stronger than you think you are. Really just stay connected to, your passion, your courage, your forward trajectory. Beautiful. Yeah, I love these readings for this month. They've all been really powerful. So that is where I'm going to leave you guys. If it feels resonant, I always appreciate all the likes and the shares and the subscribes, and definitely always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. And I wish you a really beautiful October, and we'll see you in future readings. See you guys.